Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tanisha and today I'm going to be discussing with you tips on writing. So this video is going to be geared towards two types of people. You're either a beginner and you're looking to have tips that will help you get on that writing journey and be a successful writer, or you're someone who you already have experience writing, but maybe you just haven't written in a long time and so you're looking for some tips on how you can just refreshen your skills. So these tips are going to help you. So let me get right into it. So whether you're writing for academic purposes, or maybe you're writing as a part of your profession, or maybe you just have a website that you need to upkeep. So you're writing blogs, articles. These are tips that are going to just help you reach your audience better and just have higher quality writing. So let's get right into it. So the first tip that I want to share is you need to determine who your audience is. Determining who your audience is going to just help you with understanding the style and the tone that you need to write in. So just to be more specific, I recently got a task from a client and they wanted me to write an article on 5 benefits of using a pressure washing service. Kind of random, I know, but this was geared towards homeowners who are usually people who do it themselves. So rather than hire professional service for anything, they just prefer to just maybe watch the Home and Garden channel, look it up on YouTube, and take a risk of doing it themselves. But my task was to let these people know that, hey, rather than do it yourself, you should just use a professional pressure washing service. So I kind of had to be a little persuasive in my writing as well, but it was really helpful. And of course, knowing who the audience is. And so the client also gave me an example of an article that was on a similar topic and it ranked number 1 on Google. And so that was really helpful too, because just understanding the way that article was written helped me along my way to understand what people are exactly looking for. Because remember, the whole way that people are able to get ranked number 1 on Google is because you have something that the audience needs. And Google determines that based on how many people are going to your article and how long they're staying there. Do they come to your webpage and then immediately bounce and leave and only stay there for a few seconds? Then that's bad. And usually Google will de-rank you, give you a lower ranking, because that means that you're creating something that people really don't need. Like there's something wrong with your webpage if people are not staying and reading. However, usually those articles that are ranked number 1 on the Google search results page is because people find them helpful. So it was really important for me as I did my research phase, which that's the next tip. Make sure you do your research. So after you determine your audiences, you want to delve into doing lots of research. So if you're writing on a blog topic or article, you want to just have as many sources as possible. Now, what I found that was pretty interesting about the topic that I was covering is I found that the majority of the articles written on the first page of the Google search results page, they really all plagiarized from each other. Like the articles were literally saying the exact same thing. It was hard to tell who was the original source. So I did have to do quite some research to find articles that covered something that was new. So that's the great thing about the article that I ended up writing. I felt like it had a more fresh approach and additional information that people would find helpful. So once you get into your research, you just want to remember, look at the tone and the style that the topic is being discussed within. So in my particular case, the topic 5 benefits of using a pressure washing service, I was able to discover that, hey, it makes more sense to cover this in a more conversational tone. So think of the way as you would maybe speak to a friend about something. So if I was talking to one of my friends and I would say, hey, did you know that, it's more beneficial for you to just hire a pressure washer than to do it yourself. Pressure washing can be kind of risky. Yeah, the pressure that the pressure washer puts out can be dangerous, especially if you need to do tasks like pressure wash the roof of your house. It can also have such strong pressure that you can damage items in your backyard. You can damage your vinyl or a different exterior of your house. So I made sure that I approached it from that standpoint. But of course, even if you're approaching it in a more conversational tone way, you want to make sure that there's still no errors and typos. You really want to check those things. And so that's my next tip, is make sure that you don't have typos, you don't have errors. And there's so many tools that you can use these days to make sure that that doesn't happen. The number 1 tool that I think is great for this is Grammarly. Grammarly offers a free version that does at the minimum check for typos, but sometimes if you go with the more premium version, which is still very cost efficient, it will be able to just give you more feedback and offer just other features that they have as part of that. So definitely look into Grammarly. And that's Grammarly. It's literally the word Grammarly, L-Y on the end. So you can Google that and find that. If you're writing anything, please run it through Grammarly. So another tip that I have, which is very important, is you want to, before you even start your writing, so after you've determined who your audience is, after you've done your research, you want to then, before you get into the writing, you want to create an outline for what you're going to write. This outline doesn't need to be anything fancy because really it's just for you. And with this outline, I'm taking it back to primary school. I'm taking it back to high school, wherever you learned on how to write essays, which I think for me was, I really got into writing probably more so when I was like in 6th, 7th grade is where we were tasked to write various things. And so when you start with your outline, it's straightforward. You're going to start with the first thing is going to be your intro. Your intro is going to have your thesis, or it's going to have the topic that you're going to be discussing. So in this intro, it's all about hooking a reader so that they will want to keep reading. And you want to just make sure that you're saying to them, hey, this is what I'm going to be talking about in this writing that I'm doing. Once you get through your intro, you want to then cover your supporting topics. Now, how many supporting topics you do is really based on how long of a piece you're writing. That would be another tip. So if you're doing academic style writing, usually the professor will always tell you the amount of words that it needs to have at a minimum, okay? If you're doing more of a writing for a client, a lot of times they will tell you how much words they want. But even if you don't necessarily have like a limit on the words, you do want to have an idea of how many words you want to write, because this just kind of helps you come up with a formula for how much you want to delve into topics, things like that, or how many topics you want to cover, things like that. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're writing on something that has a lot of topics, or you can really go in deep to it. Maybe you just want to cover the most popular or the most important things and maybe exclude the others, or maybe just mention them very briefly, okay? So for me, in this article where I was writing 5 benefits of using a professional pressure washing service, it had to be 1,500 words, which that's pretty lengthy. You're getting into long form writing. And so I came up with a formula where I said, you know what? I want to have maybe about 4 or 5 to 6 paragraphs, and maybe it would be about 200 to 300 words each paragraph. And so sometimes it worked out. Sometimes I found that I was able to adequately cover a topic and it didn't reach the amount of words that I wanted. So rather than get stuck, I would do like a quick research just to find if I could find more information. And if I was having a hard time finding more information, sometimes I would skip it and go back to it and then just continue writing, because that's another thing. Depending on your timelines, you want to be careful that you don't get stuck maybe in the research phase too long, or if there is a point where maybe you get stuck on a particular topic, you just want to keep it moving. That's my advice, so that you don't waste time. And so a lot of times what I would do is I would keep writing. And sometimes what I found is there was a particular topic that I actually was able to go in depth even more. And even though I didn't get to cover a certain amount of words in maybe a previous paragraph, like let's say, for example, I wanted to write 200 words in the previous paragraph and I only got to 150. What I found is in the next paragraph, I was able to maybe get to 300 words. So now I don't even have to worry about going back and trying to fill in that previous paragraph. I hope that makes sense. The point is, you need to come up with a formula, so to speak, not like literally, but you just need to kind of have it sometimes in your mind to say, okay, this is how many words I want to write. I'm telling you, it just makes it makes you be able to write faster, and it just helps you to be able to stay on track. That's the whole point of this outline, is so that you will stay on track. I remember when I first really started writing more of like the academic style writing when I was in my freshman year of college, I tried to avoid doing the outline. And it didn't work. I usually end up going off topic, veering off topic, and then not getting the best grade that I could have, because the teacher's like, you kind of went off topic here. So yeah, creating that outline, make sure that you stay on topic. And to me, it helps make sure that you have a higher quality writing, and again, that you stay on topic, because you don't want to lose your reader. So let's just backtrack. So when you do your outline, you're going to have your intro, you're going to have your supporting topics, and then last but not least, you're going to have your conclusion. And in the conclusion, you're basically going to summarize what you talked about. And there are different ways to do conclusions. The way I do it is just straightforward, summarize what you talked about. But there are some people that like to do their conclusions where maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe they just want to focus on a very strong point and kind of end it there. So the way I do it is I kind of do both. So I summarize what I talked about, and then I will also kind of hit a stronger point, or kind of just reiterate a stronger point, or maybe just say it in a stronger way and then end it there. So I can even give you an example of what some of these things look like. So let me go over the article that I actually wrote on 5 benefits of using a pressure washing service. So for the intro that I did, and by the way, when you have articles that are on this, 5 benefits of doing this, or 5 ways you can do this, like those number articles, those make your life so much easier. They make your life so much easier. So I will say that. So in the intro for this one, well, remember, your intro is all about just your hook and stating what your topic is. So just to paraphrase what I wrote, it's pressure washing your home, sidewalk, and driveway is a great way to refreshen the look of your property. It can remove years of stain, grime, and dirt that can make your exterior look dull. And pressure washing your home can increase your property value by 2 to 5%, and it can save you in the long run from having to spend large amounts of money on costly repairs like installing new siding, refinishing, or repainting the home. And then I just delve into it. So I probably write like another sentence or two, and then I delve into, here are 5 benefits of hiring a professional pressure washing service. So again, straight to the point, but about hooking your reader. I wanted to make sure that they're clear on the fact that, hey, there are a lot of benefits to pressure washing your home. And I'm about to explain these to you, but just know that, I'm just giving them like a preview. Like you can even increase your property value. So that's another thing. Having data in your intro is really helpful. And that's pretty much standard. If you notice the format for most articles, you're going to notice they always have some type of data. They always have some type of percentage or some number. It hooks people. It's interesting. It helps to build the case for what you're saying. So then I just went into my supporting topics where you can save money. There's no need to deal with chemicals. You can avoid damaging your property. You can avoid putting yourself in danger. It creates a clean and healthy environment. And then I ended it with a conclusion that was, there's lots of benefits of power washing your home, but even greater benefits to just leaving it to a professional pressure washing service, a reputable company with expertise and experience. And then I spoke about the fact that, if you use them, you can avoid the risk of possibly hurting yourself, because it turns out pressure washing can be kind of dangerous just because of the high level of pressure that is exerted from this machine. And if you have to do things like standing on your roof and pressure washing, you don't want to do that, or you want to avoid having to climb ladders and things of that nature. And then I ended it with a strong point. And so that strong point was, you can limit hazards for yourself, and you can clean up your home and make your home environment safe for your family and pets. So that's how I did it in practical terms. So just to get back to this, so once you get through the outline, now it's time to get into the actual writing. So another tip that I can give is, as you are writing, read what you are writing. If you do this, what I found is it will help cut down on the amount of editing that you need to do on the end. It will help cut down on grammatical errors. It will help cut down on typos. It will also help to make sure that you're staying on topic. And another tip that I have that is connected to reading what you write out loud is, there's tools that can help you do this. If you have a MacBook or Apple product, you can actually right click and go to attach a text to speech feature. If you don't have an Apple device, then I believe most computers will have, a PC should have this as well, because I think it kind of falls more under like accessibility type of features. But if you can't find it, you can either look up how to activate it, or you can just look on Google and find a free text-to-speech tool. And there's lots of them, but just be forewarned to make sure that you use one that is reputable so that you don't give your computer a virus, okay? So after you read what you are writing out loud as you go, the next tip that I would say is, make sure that you are, at the end, once you finish writing, run your writing through a grammar check. So usually the computer does this for you, of course, but what I found is I like to use a tool called Grammarly. That's probably the most popular auto check, auto grammar feature, and they don't only go over typos, but they also look at like the way you're structuring your sentences. Are you writing, weird and writing in like a weird tone or something like that? It can check those things. It's actually pretty advanced, I would say. And so they have like a free version of that, or there is a paid version of that. So I do use the free version for now, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna upgrade that soon to be the to be the more premium version. But I do have experience with editing as well. So I will say that if you follow the tips of reading out loud as you go, and the next tip I would say is watch your run-on sentences. So that's something that I've kind of struggle with as a writer, is I do like these long sentences. Sometimes I feel like when you're trying to make a point, it just happens, but you want to be careful of that. It can sometimes alienate your reader, or it can sometimes just make it hard for your reader to follow. So you want to be careful of that. And my next tip would be, so if time allots, which it should, so you should try to, as soon as you get an assignment, you should really try to work on it a little bit at a time so that you don't leave it to the last minute. I have to say I'm guilty of this. It's a bad habit that I picked up from college, is doing assignments at the last minute. But what I found is, as a professional, I can no longer do that, because it really decreases the quality of your work, and it actually increases the chance that you're gonna have typos and you're gonna have grammatical errors. So you really want to give yourself time to work on these things. And so when you have the time to work on it, once you finish writing, you should take a step back from your writing. So you want to, even if it's just for, I don't know, maybe like a half hour or an hour or maybe a day, it doesn't really matter how long. The point is you want to step away and then come back and read it with a fresh set of eyes. Or maybe you want to take it a step further, and if it's something really important that you're working on, you can have someone else read it. And just, the main point is you want to make sure that your writing is able to just flow, and that people aren't stopping and getting stuck like, well, what do you mean there? Or I'm not following that. You want to make sure it's clear and able to be followed easily. And that's why I said it's important not to have too many run-on sentences, okay? And then the last tip, but the most important, is don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. I know it can be tempting. It can be tempting, especially if there's a particular topic and you feel like you found a source and the way they say it is just so good. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarize. Let me tell you, especially if you're doing academic style writing, there are so many tools that I think is just part of the process nowadays, where a professor will run it through the tool to make sure that you didn't plagiarize, especially since we have the internet available to us, and there's so many different ways that you can find things that, you can cheat or whatever. So yeah, the academically, they're going to always run that plagiarism check. And I mean, you just don't want to do that. I mean, you have the ability to be a good writer. You really do. It just takes practice. Just in general, I think a tip on how you can be a better writer is be a reader. Read a lot, and then it just kind of like, it transfers onto you, and you just, before you know it, you're like, oh, I'm getting better at writing. That's all I have for you guys, and I really hope that you found it helpful. I believe that if you follow these tips, you are on your way to being a better writer. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you soon.